Hi, Michael. Thank you so much for helping my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely happy to help. My name is Michael Chen. I'm currently a software engineer. I did my master's at Carnegie Mellon in machine learning. So I have a background in more of the AI side. And in my free time, I like to play chess and pickleball.
Well, that's awesome. I like to play pickleball too. We should play sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
So AI, that's really taken off lately. I mean, with like ChatGPT and all the generative AI. What are your thoughts about how that's going to change our world?
Yeah, it's really exciting. Obviously, ChatGPT is super powerful. It's doing a lot of things that people didn't think AI could do. But it still has its limitations. It's definitely useful in a lot of cases for like summarization or like if you feed it a lot of information, it's good at answering like questions you would ask Google, for example. But for a lot of things, you would need to double check the answer you get because it's not as reliable as you would like it to be, I guess, at this point.
As I especially find that's true with anything that involves calculations. Like it's usually good with the explanation and comes up with the right formula, but then the math itself seems to be nonsensical sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. It's more of an imitation of like this is what it would seem like rather than like a concrete like answer usually.
And also, just thinking about how ChatGPT was like actually trained by taking all of this existing kind of content to train the model. Um, it seems like that oftentimes it would kind of uh, it seems like you're training towards like the average answer, what the consensus answer is. And in a lot of areas, like maybe chess, for example, most people are not like champion chess players. So, it'd probably give you more of an average answer than like the champion answer.
Yeah, I do know in fact that ChatGPT is not very good at chess. It actually can't really follow the rules either. But in the case of like having so much data, it's actually used pretty good when you take the average because when you poll like even like if you just poll a massive number of people and average out the answers, usually you get a pretty reasonable response.
That's true. That's true. Well, I love your background, and it's perfect for today's conversation. Uh, I guess first of all, did you know that NASA's planning to send astronauts back to the moon?
Yeah, well, my background's hiding a much scarier background, but I actually did know that we're going to the moon because you told me about it when you mentioned this project. But other than that, I don't actually have that much detail about it. So if you could fill me in a little bit, that'd be very helpful.
Yeah, sure. So the last time we went to the moon was 1972, and back in 2019, the latest program called Artemis was announced to actually send the next people to the moon, and the plan was to have them land next year in 2024, which is why I started this project to kind of count down to the end of 2024. That's been delayed a year, but the the thought would be there would be sort of um, a test flight of the rocket and the capsule without anybody in it. That was completed last November. And then we would do another test flight with four astronauts that would just go around the moon and come back. And those four astronauts have been selected, and the rocket and everything is being put together to take them. And then Artemis 3, you have four more astronauts meet up with a lander that would already be in lunar orbit. And then two of those astronauts would go down to the surface and then come back up. And the thought is NASA would plan on doing a mission to the moon about every year, uh, indefinitely. And then eventually build up uh, a orbiting station called Gateway around the moon, and then some surface habitation and some surface rovers to do exploration and discovery on the moon surface. So, so that's the plan.
Yeah, that seems really exciting.
Um, so a lot of people wonder if it's a good idea. If this is the best use of resources. I was kind of interested in what your thoughts were on that.
Um, Interesting. I think, well, yeah, I think because like knowledge exploration and like expanding how much you know is always useful in terms of like science and everything else. It's not always going to be like directly impacting, I guess, the world and making it a better place. But the hope is eventually, right, you learn something or eventually yeah, the knowledge you gain helps in the future. So I definitely do still think that like it's a valuable use of resources, even if it doesn't, I guess, directly impact the Earth as much as other projects.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and also, maybe we learn a little bit about the Earth too. There's meteors are a common thing, and the moon is like a pretty pristine record of what types of things Earth has been flying through over the millions of years, and maybe we'll learn something that'll help protect the Earth later on.
Yeah, that's actually really cool.
Whenever you think about the future of humanity, like if you think out like 200 years, what is it like for you?
Oh, 200 years. Well, yeah, I guess, yeah, it's hard to imagine 200 years in the future. It's obviously going to be very different. I guess if you think about 200 years in the past, there's a lot of technology now that you probably couldn't dream of back then. So it's kind of hard to picture what it'd be like in future. Um, I'm tempted to say that it won't be that much different than currently it is. I think obviously we'll probably be healthier. The technology there is evolving. We might solve some diseases, but I don't know. Other than that, it's hard for me to picture what it'd be like 200 years in the future.
But do you think we have people living on other planets by that time?
Uh, I could see that we could have like structures on other planets, maybe like that we would visit. Like it might be easier to travel between planets, but I feel like we're a little far away from like having sustained life on planets. Like there's a lot of resources that would need to be available on other planets that currently aren't available. I guess obviously like water and stuff like that. So like I guess our technology, I don't think is quite there for like building something that would sustain life on different planets. And I guess it's 200 years, but I think it's much more realistic that we would be able to travel easily between planets rather than living, I guess, sustainably on other planets.
I went to the Houston Half Marathon on Sunday, and the thought occurred to me at some point, maybe travel becomes so easy between, like, say, here and the moon, that we might actually have a half marathon on the moon and people would actually fly up there to do like this contest. I was wondering, do you see that at some point in our future?
Huh. Yeah, I mean that would be really cool. I'm tempted to say yes, yes, because I want to see it happen. But yeah, I guess I don't really have a much better educated guess. But I'll go for yeah. I think it will happen.
Do you see that happening in decades, hundreds of years, or thousands of years?
Um, let's say somewhere between 50 and 100 years.
Really? Oh, that's awesome. That's about the same range I think of it too.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm glad
Yeah.
I'm have a supported answer.
Well, I don't know how it's supported. I'm very much optimistic. I'd asked somebody at NASA about this yesterday, and he was saying how pretty much every spacewalk would be like a half marathon. So I don't think he quite uh, was in a position to embrace the full spirit of the question.
Yeah, I do imagine it'd be much more difficult to run half marathon in space.
That's true. Hard to imagine the moon becoming so accessible that people would be willing to go there for such an event.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it also comes with concerns about, I guess, like contaminating the moon and like possibly destroying it, like humans tend to do, I guess.
Well, meteors are constantly hitting the moon. I like to think that we offer a little bit more value than random rocks.
That's true, yeah.
So if you could, would you take a trip to space?
Um, yeah, definitely, yeah. As long as the technology is there, so it's safe, and uh, as long as that's there, then yeah, absolutely, would love to visit.
And how far would you consider going? Just to orbit, like for a day or two and come back, or maybe a week to the moon and back? Or if they open up a Martian colony and they're like, hey, we need AI specialists here, would you apply and become a colonist on Mars?
Um, I guess it would depend on a lot of variables, but like for example, like how far technology advances. If it's for example as easy as like for example getting a car and driving somewhere, and I could go from here to like Mars, then absolutely I would join a colony, I guess. But otherwise, it feels like it would be too far isolated to go too far. So I would probably orbit is definitely, moon is a maybe, I guess, depending on the technology.
That's awesome. And how likely do you think you'll have a chance to do one of those three things in your lifetime?
Um, I feel like orbit, the technology is almost there, right? I'm not actually sure about that, but I feel like I've heard things about it. So I feel like going to orbit is maybe likely in my lifetime, but then I going to the moon, maybe, yeah, 50-50 on the moon. But probably not to Mars or any other planet in my lifetime.
That's awesome. Well, Michael, those are all the questions I had. Did you have any questions for me or anything that you think would be worth adding that people looking back on this, why they're sitting in that Martian colony looking back on the decade when it all got started, uh, should know?
Huh? I don't know. I guess I was a little curious about your answers to your questions. Would you go to space, and where would you go if you had the opportunity?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Honestly, I've been waffling on that. Like, I think before I started this project, I said I would go to space, sure thing. And then as I hear people have their doubts, then I have my doubts. And then I'm like, no, I really got to go. So, like, I've never been skydiving. I feel
Yeah.
like you have to be willing to go skydiving before you go to space. Like, I feel like they're on the same level of risk. Maybe space is worse. Um, so yes, I think I would go to space. I would figure some way to egg myself into it.
Yeah, for the risk tolerance, definitely. I've also never been skydiving, and yeah, I'm hoping the technology advances where it's safer to go to space than it is to skydive.
I mean, the thing is, with skydiving, you have the time between, thinking about doing and getting on the plane, and you have the time whenever you're actually on the plane getting up there. But the moment you step out, it's set. It's like the whole launch thing.
That's
So I
true.
feel like with the launches, it's like a lot longer time sitting there where you're like, might have one of these panic attacks or like, get me out of here. So,
Yeah, definitely very
but
scary.
and where do I see humanity in 200 years? I think we have Martian colonies. I think we have people on the moon.
Oh wow.
I think, running half marathons on the moon is a regular occurrence. I think people are traveling all across the globe in like less than 30 minutes.
Wow.
Um, so I think it'd be an exciting future. And yeah, so that's pretty much me.
Do you predict, so for the Earth, do you predict we'll mostly move away from the Earth, or like we'll still be mostly on Earth and then just some people are on other planets?
I think most people will still be on Earth. Like the population of Earth, it will still be like 8, 9, 10, 12 billion. But I think a lot of the activities that we do on the Earth that harm the Earth,
Hmm.
we'll stop doing. Like we won't be doing mining on the Earth anymore. We won't
Oh,
have landfills. We'll have more of a circular based material economy where our trash becomes inputs into our industrial processes, which becomes new stuff. I think most of like the energy generation is done in space. The sun produces energy in every direction, and if
hmm.
you consider um, the surface area of a sphere that has the same um, kind of diameter as Earth's orbit, uh, if you consider that surface area and compare it to the cross-sectional area of the Earth, that proportion is something like 1 to 700 billion. So that 1 700 billion has powered everything on Earth. Every tornado, every life, every gallon of oil, everything. And we can multiply that by 700 billion with just the nuclear energy that we're already getting. We just have to, figure out some way to capture and utilize it.
Yeah, that's true. There's definitely a lot of potential there.
Yeah, I mean, we could melt down anything. We could, maybe get to the point where we can start creating things at the atomic level. Actually assembling and decomposing of molecules into atoms and putting them back together.
Yeah, wow.
When the periodic table becomes your Lego bin, and you could just snap them together however you want, then we'll have a really really amazing ability to create stuff.
Yeah. It's also a little bit scary of like all the things you could create and I guess like unlimited power. There has to be what you choose to do with it, I guess.
That's the problem. We just need to become better people.
Yeah. Guess that's a bit of a
And
cynical outlook.
but the thing is, maybe space helps to do that. Here on Earth, we kind of get stuck in sort of the grind of our daily world, and we lose sight of how vast the universe is. When you have people routinely going to space and seeing Earth as like a little bitty ball hovering in a place, and they're like traveling places, and those people come back with their own personal stories and feelings, and that kind of like, uh, you know, um, starts permeating through society, and people are looking up at the moon and they see human activity on the moon. This might be the thing that drives people to go, why are we fighting over this little patch of land here? We got infinite land. What we need is brains. And if you need brains, you need bodies to house those brains. And we just need to make those brains as smart as possible and, as connected as possible and as powerful as possible. So,
Yeah.
anyway,
A little pessimistic on that outlook, but that would be nice. Yeah.
it would be nice. It would be
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. Even if we make it a little bit better, it's a step in the right direction. So,
Yeah, definitely.
you know, um, uh, cleaning up in front of your house won't make the entire street clean. But if you do it and that inspires somebody else to do it, who inspires somebody else to do it, eventually the entire city gets cleaned.
Yeah, that's true. Little change can have big impact.
Yes. Big things start small. Well, Michael, I really appreciate your time. I'll let you get back to your Friday evening and definitely look forward to meeting up again sometime and playing pickleball. Um, I think that would probably be far more interesting for you than me playing chess.
Yeah, I'm interested in both. You can do either. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Well, sounds good. Okay, take care.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.